what percent commission am I making if I give you the rights to my art?
The best ambassadors for the brand are people who love the product.
Don't skip out on what your followers are telling you, and don't skip out on creating like a sense of community.
Am I going to go out of business because AI art is taking over?
Welcome to the Ready, Set, Click podcast, where we talk digital marketing strategies. Grab a coffee or something a little stronger and settle in for this episode.
Hello, and welcome to the Ready, Set, Click podcast. My name is Paul Kahn, and today we're going to be talking about art. Joining us today is Erica Figliola, an artist and creator. Welcome, Erica.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. And Charlotte Schembri, who works as a marketing coordinator and social media director at Wexel Art. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
We are all super excited because we love art, and we want to talk about art and how art is utilized in our lives, but also how Wexel is using social media to help get art out to everyone in the world. So what I'd love to talk first about, Charlotte, is sort of what is the story behind Wexel Art? How did it get started and all of that?
Yeah, so the founder of Wexel Art, Natasha McRee, was having trouble finding some frames that would highlight her kids' artwork. And she tried going to a whole bunch of local framers. They didn't have what she was looking for. So she decided, well, I got to design a frame myself. So she decided to get a single panel of acrylic, some magnets, some hardware to install it to the wall. And then she could easily swap out her kids' art whenever they make new pieces with the magnets.
Okay, you are actually a partner and a creator with Wexel Art. Can you talk about how that got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my brand BehindTheMatches because of a need for searching through my collection of matches and pens and tiny treasures during the pandemic, where no one was traveling and no one was going out to eat, and we're home like longing for these experiences. And I was inspired by my empty wall to start putting it all together and create an art piece for myself. And what better way to showcase my journey and my story through all these places that I've been and hang it up on my wall. So it started off there, and after a quick post on TikTok, things kind of blew up and I started getting orders, and I wanted a really beautiful way to be able to offer clients to be able to showcase the artwork I was giving them. So I was inspired by what I was seeing online. I was seeing, traditional framing, and I came across Wexel because I was looking for something modern, interchangeable, and I really aligned with their mission of just providing something that's beautiful, it's sleek, it's a beautiful way to really just see what's presented in the shadow boxes, and it's interchangeable. And like our journeys and like our stories, they're constantly changing, and I wanted to be able to provide that option for people. And that's what started our working relationship, and it's been a beautiful one.
Now, we were talking earlier, and you said that you posted this on TikTok. Can you explain to everyone why you chose to post that piece on TikTok?
Sure. So I gravitated toward TikTok because I felt that my Instagram was all people that already knew me. And I wasn't an artist by any means beforehand. And TikTok felt like a safe place. And I knew it could reach a lot of different people outside of my own network. So I gravitated towards that. And my first post went viral. And I loved seeing the influx of people that either were collectors or just aligned with the messaging about collecting things that were meaningful and bringing them to life in your own home. And that's how it evolved.
Okay. And yeah, so as we're all noticing, TikTok is it can be the lightning bolt in a certain sense, right? So sometimes there's creators who are out there, they're on TikTok, there's not much, and then boom. And then, so that virality is definitely a piece of the TikTok puzzle. So can you tell us how you actually got connected with Wexel?
Charlotte and I were introduced, and we had a call, and from that call, we set up a partnership, and we just continue to keep collaborating. I visited them in Austin. They've invited me to events, and it's just been a really beautiful working relationship.
So this is something that we actually hear quite a bit from the people that we work with. The best ambassadors for the brand are people who love the product, right? Has that been your experience, Charlotte?
Yep, because they know how to use the product if they love the product. And if we're looking for specific content too, I have a vision in my head, and sometimes it's hard to relay that vision to content creators who aren't in love with the product because they don't know how to specifically use the product. But Erica, every time she sent content, it looks great. I don't have to tell her like how to adjust an image or how to edit it because she uses the product all the time.
And so beyond that, do you then try to find other people who already know about Wexel to be your ambassadors?
Yeah, so we reach out to our artists and designers that buy our products, and we ask them, hey, do you want to collaborate with us on Instagram or social media? And they love it. They love the idea because it's a collaboration between two businesses, and everyone gets excited to create fun content.
Yeah, I mean that's the key, right? Like if we're talking about art, if we're talking about creativity, you need to let that creativity flow. But I think what you're talking about is really important. You need people who also understand what the product can do, because you can be as creative as you want, but if it doesn't sync with the product, it's not all that useful for you as a business.
Yeah, there was this one artist that we collaborated with. She used our shadow box in a completely different way that we never envisioned. So usually most people put canvases in our shadow boxes, but she put her like poster in the shadow box instead and laid it out on the front panel instead of letting her art sit on the canvas.
Okay.
And I thought that was such a unique way to frame her art. So the whole team got excited. We were all mind blown. We're like, what? She put the poster on the front panel and not like on the canvas? Super creative.
How are you going about identifying those customers who are using your product already?
So if I see them posting our product a lot on Instagram, I'll reach out to them. And usually I start off with, hey, I saw you create like a post about our product. Can we reshare it on our Instagram? So I like to ask their permission first to post a photo, reshare it, use it on our website because that's really important. And we give the artist or designer credit too on the website so people know, oh, it's this designer. They know how to use a Wexel product. Maybe I'll reach out to them. And then after that, if we really like the content they created, we'll want to reach out to them and create like unique content through us. So we'll send them a product, or if they already have like a design project they're working on with a Wexel product, they'll just say, oh, we'll create this content for you, and then we'll make you a collaborator of the post.
Okay. And Erica, from your perspective as that collaborator, what goes through your head when you get that request or that thought? Like, how do you tend to think about it?
I think since it came so organically, and I was doing this almost every day at the time, putting the artwork together, reaching out to Wexel, placing these big orders, and became so familiar with the company, it happened so naturally that I truly just filmed what I was doing on the day-to-day, and that's what we created for the collaboration. And I think when it comes that easily, it eliminates all that back and forth. It eliminates like questioning if this is the right partnership. So I think when it happens organically, that's the way to go.
Right. And so, if you're giving advice to other people who are social media directors and marketing coordinators and about ways to work with creators, is that like thought number one? Best practice, work with people who already love what you're doing?
Yes, because I've reached out to multiple artists, creators, and it's taken them either weeks or months to reply back to your email, and then there's a whole bunch of negotiating and then choosing a product because they're not familiar with it. So I have to explain to them what each of our product categories are, how they work. But if I work with somebody who already knows the company, who already knows how to use the product, then that collaboration goes a lot quicker. So if you're wanting to post content on a certain timeline, working with somebody that you've already worked with or uses your product is the best way to go.
And, fundamentally, Wexel is looking to drive sales through these collaborations. Obviously, create great collaborations, great artwork for people to pay attention to. But when you're looking at driving sales, you want to pay attention to your return on investment. And your time is a big investment within that as well. And sometimes I think people don't think about the time and energy that has to go into coordinating these things, working on them, talking to people, negotiating, as you were mentioning, right? Now, you all are, at Wexel, you're built on Shopify as your content management system. Is that correct? And do you do any sort of tracking based on the posts that the artists are putting out there?
Yeah, so we give each creator their own unique discount code. So whenever somebody, checks out with that unique discount code, we know that that purchaser came from that influencer. And sometimes influencers choose to have a flat rate payment for content that they create, or they want a 10% commission on sales. So if they do choose the 10% commission on sales, having that unique discount code tracked is important, because then we can pay them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty important piece of the puzzle, is making sure that everybody gets paid. And, we do hear from a lot of brands. There are brands like yourself where it's both. Some brands are like only doing flat payments, and some brands are only doing commissions. We really like to encourage brands to think on both sides, because you have some smaller creators who are very happy just to get their foot in the door, get the exposure, and the commission is great for them. And then some of the larger creators are going to require that upfront payment. If if you have millions of followers, it's harder to get people to just go for a commission.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I've had a mix. So some of the larger followers chose to have 10% commission on
because they
sales.
believed in their ability to drive sales.
Yes, and it's really worked out for them.
So, all right, if you are a large creator and you're listening to this, when someone offers you a commission, maybe you should take it.
Yeah, because they take the time to put your product on their website, on their link in bio links, and put their unique discount code out there. And if they put in the effort to do that marketing for you, they're going to get that investment back.
Well, and that's how you have that true collaboration, right? So that everybody's has incentives in the similar direction. Well, that's great. And so where are you tracking those sales? In Shopify?
In Shopify and through Upfluence as well. So because they're connected, I can see it on both ends.
So we've talked about the sales element, what you need to do to make sure that you're tracking the sales and commissions and different ways of paying influencers. But you all at Wexel do something else, which is really interesting, which is you'll actually partner with people to sell their artwork for them in a different way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a lot of call for arts throughout the year because we have a big retailer.
Right.
Yeah, so we reach out through email marketing, text marketing, social media, and we ask our followers, if you're interested, submit your art to us.
Can I ask a question? Who are you using for email marketing?
Klaviyo.
You're using Klaviyo. As everyone, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but Klaviyo works really well with Shopify.
Yes.
It's sort of built to work with that. And then, so you're sending all of that out. How many submissions, if you don't mind my asking, might you get in a given call for art?
Probably over 100.
Over 100 different submissions. And then how many people get chosen?
Probably like 20 or less.
How do you make the choice as to which artwork you want to move forward with potentially?
Yeah, so the co-founders of Wexel, Natasha and Morgan, try to figure out what's trending out there. So throughout the year, we go through like the other art fair or BD&Y. At our trade shows, we like to meet artists. And if we see like a certain art style trending, in the call for art, we'll specifically ask for like a style.
So what was, if you don't mind my asking, what was the last call for art?
Graffiti is trending a lot right now.
Graffiti?
Yeah.
Okay.
Graffiti. It's doing really well.
Okay.
Yeah. We like hip stuff too. And we like to embellish a lot of the art as well, add 3D elements to it. It makes it more exciting. So after that, I put a pitch together of all the chosen artwork that they go through. It could take about like a week to go through all of the submissions, choose our favorite art pieces. Before we put it in the pitch, though, we like to make sure that the artist has the high-res file before submitting, because we don't want to disappoint our customer if we can't give them the piece that they chose because the artist didn't have the high-res file ahead of time. So we put the pitch together, then the client chooses their favorite art pieces. So that's kind of like the first round of like edits, essentially. And then I guess they put their budget together. They choose which pieces they want a clear shadow box with, or a rainbow or neon shadow box. They choose which pieces they want embellishments on. And once they do that, then we go through the final round of art. We let the artist know, and then we send them a contract.
Okay, so let's talk about this right here, because I think this is really interesting. Especially, everyone's really thinking about artist rights right now. And, especially with AI coming in, there's a whole big backlash on that, which we don't have to talk about right now. But Erica, when you're in a position where someone wants to use your artwork in a different venue or a different way, what are the thoughts that go through your head as an artist as you're thinking about, sort of giving this thing you created over to a brand?
I think there are some nerves there, and it's just about being credited. I think that there are so many different creators out there, and there's room for everyone, and a lot of people are doing matchbook art or other forms of art, but it's about being credited and just like communication, and that's what's really important to me.
And making sure that, but I think it's also important from the brand's perspective that they're very open and honest with you about where and how that artwork is going to be used, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you're thinking about taking that artwork and either reusing it in a different social media realm or for production, it's not a very simple process of contracting, is it?
Yeah, so we have different contracts for the production aspect and the social media, but we hire an art lawyer.
You have an art lawyer?
Yeah, we have to, because we're mass producing art for a national retailer. So we have to cover our butts and theirs and the artists. So we don't want to, do anything wrong. So the art lawyer drafts up the contract. We send it to the artist. If they have any questions, the co-founder, Natasha, is familiar with the contract, so she'll answer their questions, make them feel comfortable with the contract, because reading something like that can be really overwhelming for artists. They're not lawyers. They don't understand the verbiage, so sometimes we have to explain it in layman's terms. And then they always ask, how are we going to get paid?
Of course.
Because we're mass producing the art. Every time we make a sale, they're like, what percent commission am I making if I give you the rights to my art? And we're paying 15% commission, which is one of the highest in that industry. So the artists get really excited about that because they don't have to make all these art pieces. We're doing all the work for them, and they just send their art file to us. And they're still getting the recognition nationally.
And from your perspective, Charlotte, how are you seeing, as Wexel is growing, as you have more and more artists that you're working with, how are you seeing those brand collaborations growing and changing over time?
That's a great question. So like Erica said, Wexel Art loves listening to our artists and designers because they always have new ideas. So whenever they're creating a project and, they see the potential that our product has, they'll ask, hey, have you ever thought about doing this with your product? And we think it's like $1 million idea. And that's what happened. We started with single panel frames, and then an artist said, what if I want something a little bit more permanent? We created our double panel frame. So, you don't have to use magnets to switch out the art. You just squish your art between two panels. And then an artist said, hey, I have to customize shadow boxes all the time, and it's an expense. Is there any way you guys could create shadow boxes? So now we mass produce shadow boxes, and it's at an affordable price for artists. They can get them at industry pricing or wholesale pricing, depending on what account they have with us. And then another artist said, what if I want to put my art in a tray, like an acrylic tray? Is there any way we could do that? So we just developed our changeable tray, where you can put your art or photos in and switch it out easily. So all of our followers give us great feedback.
And how are you managing? I know you have to manage all of the following. So are you using tools for that, or are you just on Instagram all the time?
I'm on Instagram all the time. I'm seeing like our creators post. Sometimes they DM us. Sometimes they tag us like on an Instagram story. Sometimes they'll reach out to us personally through email and pitch an idea to us. Or if they know, Natasha or Morgan personally, they'll let them know their ideas. And that's a great thing about Wexel Art too. Like even the employees, when we think of an idea, we pitch it to our bosses, and then it goes into development, and it's like really a creative space. And we like to kind of put that on social media too.
I'm just curious what you think is going to happen in the world of art as we're in, it's 2024. How is art changing? Art has been changing for millennia, of course, but like, how do you see the art world moving and changing at this point?
So I think something that I'm seeing is really interesting is people want to be interacting with artists. And I think people have this really interesting curiosity to learn themselves. I started painting the other day, something I've never done before. And I created something beautiful. And it was because I was so just in my element and letting myself be free in a space that wasn't being judged. There was no one around me. It felt really safe. And I created something awesome. So I think if creators, artists are able to create a safe, fun place for their followers or people who are interested and do it alongside them, I think that could be a really beautiful way to evolve a brand.
Okay, so if I could put that into an extremely overly concise idea, but you're basically talking about art as a binder of community and a way to grow.
So I think a big thing is don't skip out on what your followers are telling you, and don't skip out on creating like a sense of community.
What about you, Charlotte?
A lot of people talk about AI art and how that scares them because artists, you don't want to rip off an artist or their art, but it's super easy to create art online through AI. You just tell what you want to see and it whips something up for you. So a lot of people get scared, especially artists, like, am I going to go out of business because AI art is taking over? But I think people want that unique touch, that hand made art piece, because they can connect to it easier. And what Erica said earlier about how more people are wanting to make their own art and they're curious, I think our product ties in with that too, because we want people to frame their own art in an easy way. And our product delivers that.
Where do you see social media moving as it ties in with that? Like everything that we're talking about, social media is becoming more spread out in a sense. It's becoming less homogenized. How do you think that affects art and artwork?
Well, I know more people are looking for genuine product reviews online because now that social media influencer marketing is getting more saturated. So now when you're going on Instagram, I personally see so many ads of influencers posting things. How do I know that they're being genuine about that product? I think that's what's going to change social media, is creating those genuine bonds and collaborations with products. Like when I see an influencer post about a product, I want them to actually use the product, enjoy the product. But sometimes it's hard to know whether it's real or if it's fake. Are they getting paid to do this, or did they reach out to the brand personally because they use that product every day? I think that's what's going to change on social media.
And Erica, what about for you?
I think I can share what I personally relate to as a social media consumer, and it's people being true and being their true selves and being transparent and being authentic, and this idea that life is not glamorous. Life is hard, and sometimes we get into creative ruts and we deal with mental health and all types of issues that every single person is dealing with, and that's the reality of the world. And I think being able to relate to people, those are the people who are going to level up in 2024 because they're leveling up for themselves. And when you put yourself first in what you're creating or what you're going through or just your day-to-day, I really think people relate well to that. And those people stand out, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I love seeing our partnered artists' process, too, of making their art, because they'll share about that on Instagram, and sometimes they'll even share about the story behind a piece of art, and I love hearing that. And once I see them talk about the art, I want to relay that back to the product listing online. Personally, when I see art, I like to connect with it. And so when I create the product listing online, I want someone to go on there, read what the art piece is about, and connect with it. So that's what I do on Instagram. I see what the artists are doing with that art, and I want to put their words back into the product so that when someone's shopping, maybe they can relate to what that artist is going through, and then they have that connection with that piece of art.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's hugely important.
Yeah.
I know when I'm at the museum, I might not know what Rene Magritte was thinking or something like that, but if I can see a little understanding of it from someone who knows more than I do, it can help me say, oh, I like that, or I connect with that, or I don't know why I picked Magritte. I think it was his birthday a couple days ago. Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining us today. And so, Erica, if people want to find your art, where should they look?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, or my website, BehindTheMatches.
BehindTheMatches, okay? And that's all one word?
Yes, one word.
Okay. And Charlotte, if we have any wonderful artists who are here today who want to reach out to you, or anyone who wants to know more about what you're working on, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so check us out on wexelart.com. We have a specific collection called Partnered Artists on our website. And then you can reach out to us at info@wexelart.com or send us a direct message on Instagram, Wexelart.
Okay, well, thank you both so much for being here. And everyone, have a great day.
All right. Thank you.